Hi everyone. So welcome to our healing talk today. So my name's Emma, and today we've got a really interesting conversation about healing from a let me join. Sorry, so I'm just trying to figure out how to go live. So there is a little bit of a delay. Hello,
Hey,
how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Yes, I'm very well, thank you. It's so nice to connect.
Yes, yes, yes.
Oh, so it's the morning for you, isn't it?
It is. It is 9 a.m.
Okay, so thank you for joining me on your weekend in the
Yeah. Thank you
morning.
for being accommodating. I know we were on a heck of a time difference right now. So,
Yeah, we figured it out, so I'm so happy that we could have this conversation today. I'm really looking forward to it. So, what I think we'll do is I will introduce myself, and then you can introduce yourself, and then we can kind of go into our conversation, if that's okay with you.
yes, of course.
Cool. So what do I do? What are my passions? So I have been a practitioner of yoga for many, many years, and also taught yoga as well. And the reason why I set up Healing Space BIPOC is because I feel that we need to have a specific community where we can share our own stories and heal from, colonialism, capitalism, and the patriarchy, which all influences our lives. And I think within the healing and spiritual circles, we don't really have the opportunity to do so. So yoga is one thing, meditation. I'm also really interested in African spiritual traditions because my lineage is Jamaican as well. So that's a passion of mine. What else? I love to learn. So there's loads of different things I'm interested in, programs. I've got lots of great teachers. So that's a little bit about me. I'm in England, in the Midlands, and the sun is actually shining today, which is very good for England. So yeah, so I'll let you introduce yourself.
Okay, my name is Tasia. I born and raised in California. I have been on this healing journey, I think about 2 years now. I've been slowly unpacking and getting to know myself. I love nature. I am a complete
Mhm.
nature freak. Being outside is like grounds me and just really gets me back to myself. I'm currently working as a hospice social worker. It's a lot, but I'm very
Yes.
passionate
Yeah.
about the elderly. I am like completely
Mm,
obsessed with
mm,
old people. I love them so much, and
mm,
that's kind of what
mm,
I focused on when I got my degree. So I'm hoping to get back to that professionally.
mm,
But yeah.
Thank you. And where could you tell people where you are as well?
Oh yeah, I'm in Central California. I'm in a very, very hot little town called Fresno. It is supposed to be like 108, 106, just
Ooh,
clear through for the next like 7 days.
okay. I mean, that sounds quite nice to me. Coming from the UK, which we we rarely have any heat, to be
Oh,
honest, even in the summer. So I like the sound of it, but I know when it's all the time and you're working in it, it's not quite the same, is it? If you're on a beach all day,
yes,
that's
yes.
amazing.
I am nowhere
Um,
near water either, so I'm just
oh
inland, just
no,
baking.
oh no. Yeah, that's not so good. You kind of need that water, that cooling
Yes,
element when you're in that
yes.
intense heat all the time. So I'll just, sorry, I was meant to do this at the beginning, but my pronouns are she, her, and my background, my ancestral background is white British and Jamaican Caribbean as well. So maybe if you'd like to, how you define yourself.
Yes, my pronouns are she, her, and I'm African American.
Thank you, thank
Mm-hmm.
you. That's that. I'm trying to get better at remembering to do that in introductions because I think it is really important that we kind of respect people's how they want to define themselves, because we are usually defined by other people, right? And this is our opportunity to say this is who we are.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so if you would, so the part that I said to you about discussing
Mm-hmm.
was your healing experience being in a conservative Christian cultish environment. So
Mm-hmm.
maybe, so if you feel able to go into it, we can start there.
Okay. Are you wanting kind of like how I got into it, or where should I start?
Yeah, maybe how it came about, your experiences. It's really up to you, whatever you feel comfortable with and what you feel, yeah, whatever comes from your heart and your spirit to share today.
Okay. Okay. So I was not really raised particularly spiritual or religious. My paternal grandmother was part of this church that I found myself a part of. And so I spent
Mm,
kind of summers going to church with her
mm,
and kind of being introduced to it. And
mm,
from the
mm,
beginning, it was very much introduced as restrictive. I remember going to
mm,
grandma's house and I couldn't watch certain things, I couldn't eat certain things.
mm,
It was a lot of can't do's, can't do's,
mm,
can't
mm.
do's.
Right.
And so I kind of went through my childhood, had my experiences, and then when I was about 20, 21 years old, I was looking for a change in my life, and I felt very empty, and I felt there was a void that needed to be filled. And I feel
Mm,
like
mm,
in kind of the Christian society, Christian nation that I live in, typically when you start feeling like something's missing, a lot of people are around saying you need to seek God, you need to get closer to God, you need to seek
mm,
Christ more specifically.
mm,
And so I went back to what I remembered, which was the religion of my grandmother. And I sought that out, and I had a really good experience initially. I was very welcomed,
mm, mm,
and I got baptized the first time, and then kind of the control started.
mm, mm,
And it was very much it was started to be like policing on what I was wearing. And you know, I was going to what was okay, I guess I'll start over. Within Christianity, there
mm,
are the fundamentalists and the more liberals. And I feel like
mm,
in every denomination there's kind of the mainstream views, and then there's the deeper, darker kind of culty side of we got to get
mm,
back to our roots, we got to get back to the scriptures, we got to get back to the primitive faith.
mm, mm,
So I
mm,
started off in kind of what was more of a liberal setting for the denomination that I was in. And then there was a pastor that I used to watch online, my cousin and I, and then we found out that his church was in town. So
mm,
we went
mm,
to his church, and when I was at that specific church, it was one of the more conservative churches, and I met someone
mm,
that became my mentor.
mm,
And that's when it really the doctrinal, the really heavy doctrinal stuff started.
mm, mm, mm,
And then it was, modesty. There was a huge emphasis
mm,
on what I wore. The
mm,
specific denomination is very heavy on dietary, so I became a very strict vegan.
mm, mm,
um, I didn't, I disconnected myself from everything secular, and I really lost myself.
mm,
And I
mm,
spent 8 years, 8 years in this church. And
mm,
it's crazy because looking back, it's like I did need something, and there was a void that needed to be filled, but it was
mm,
me healing. It was my healing that I was needing. And
mm,
I was looking to this concept of God. I was looking to this church. I was looking to this denomination. I was looking to these rules to heal me
mm,
and to fix me.
mm,
And it kept coming up short. And I still was like, I still had that void, so
mm,
I realized that it wasn't doing what I needed it to do. And so that's what
right.
really kicked off my healing journey, was realizing that I need to heal.
Mm, mm,
I need to figure out what's going on within myself, because a lot of it was masking. If I can
mm,
be perfect, if I can do these works, if I can achieve, if I can be, if I can do,
mm,
but I
mm,
never
mm,
felt enough. And
right.
I was doing everything right. I was hitting all the marks. I was the perfect Christian in the eyes of a lot of people, and I was struggling. Like I never achieved what does that make sense? Like what I thought I was going to get.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. There's so much in that I, different aspects that I would really love to just ask a little bit more about. So one of the things, so before we had our conversation, I actually wanted to just figure out, what does cultish mean? That's something that it's like a really big spectrum, isn't it? Cultish.
Yes.
And my own perception before I just having a quick look on Wikipedia is that there is somebody who is in charge, and there is very strict rules and almost like an overriding of individual individual choices, and a lack of questioning that's allowed to take place.
Yes.
So maybe from your point of view, somebody who feels like you've been in it, how would you define that? Because it is a little bit tricky to define, actually, because I also read that it was used towards any new traditions, any new religious traditions were called occults. And then also I saw some things about African traditions called occult, Asian traditions called occult. So it's like, who's defining what a cult is? So maybe what are your thoughts on this kind of cult, and what does that mean to you?
When I think of a cult, I think of control. I think of control, and I think of shooting down any sense of individuality and any sense of personal. I'm struggling with the word, because when I think of my experience in the church and in this setting, there were very clear guidelines that you needed to stay within. And if you went outside of these guidelines, you were not in good graces with God, and it was they're very tricky with how they word things, because it's not very, and that's what I think, that's what messes with you the most, and that's what makes it real culty. It's like it fucks with your ability to be like, hey, something's wrong, because you start to question. But then when you question, it's like, well, everyone else seems okay with it. Like I see, and it's a lot of, what I realized was I stopped critically thinking. I completely turned off my ability to critically think. I thought within the guidelines. The doctrines are very specific, and that's what I think of. You're not allowed to really go outside of what's deemed safe.
So that, I suppose, it's that critical thinking, isn't it? And with any concept, I suppose, from my experiences within kind of with yoga, it's very practical. Also, I was interested in Buddhism for a long time, and within that practice, the Buddha taught that don't take my word for it. You practice and you see what happens for yourself, which I personally like, because it's based on your own experience. So you can learn from somebody else, but it's not saying it's going to be the same for everybody. We're all individuals. Take what you need and leave what you don't need. But it sounds like within a cultish environment, it's you take everything and that's it. There's no question of if it's related to you and your personal situation.
Exactly. And I even remember a quote that like my friends and I in the church would throw around, and we'd say, like, you can't do salad bar Bible. You can't pick and choose what you want to believe.
Right.
Like, you either take it all or you are not a real Christian. You know what I mean? You believe every word of scripture literally. And it's like, and it's not taken into historical context. You know what I mean? Women were property at the, different things that, like, like you say, common sense and practical critical thinking will have you be like, hold on, something's not right. But it's that discouragement of questioning and that discouragement of critical thinking, because like I taught Bible. Like I was a Bible teacher. Like I was in leadership in the church, and there were things that did not sit right with me, and even that I had studied out, and I'm like, this shit don't make sense. But it's like my desire, I just wanted to be accepted and loved by God so badly. And I was like, I will do whatever I have to do, even if this does not make sense to me. And then I realized through my healing, like I needed validation. I needed to be affirmed. I needed emotional safety. I needed, you know what I mean? And these were the things I was looking for. But the concept of God, it's like, I wasn't finding that. But it's, and what you said, I love that, because that has been the most beautiful thing for me exploring spirituality. I have the answers. If I ask a question, you know, I'm being directed back to sit with yourself, see what spirit tells you, sit with the medicine, sit with the plants, see what the plants say to you, sit with this and gain what you can. And you know what I mean? Me and you could read something and get two completely different things out of it, and they're valid. Like that to me is a new concept versus like, no, I read it, I have truth, and it's my duty to educate you because I am the person. And that's that superiority complex within Christianity is terrible. It is terrible because I was taught that I was in like God's end time church. We have the truth. We have the obligation, not even the choice, because there's a verse in the Bible that says like, you know, that person's blood will be on your hand. And that was used out of context to where I'm like, I used to have so much anxiety of like just talking to people, you know, because I was always in my mind like, how can I proselytize right now? Like you always like turn the conversation. I'm listening to you, but I'm trying to find a place where I can interject and turn it to now be in the control of the conversation and have the upper hand and educate you because I know something that you don't know because I'm closer to God with my understanding. It's like, that's so toxic. That is so toxic.
Yeah, it's it's proselytizing, isn't it? That's the word. Yeah, it's a very interesting concept. And again, it's what was the context of why this was so important within Christianity? Because historically, it was used as a tool of oppression and control. You know, so we you know, we know within the slave trade, the Christian church was instrumental in justifying the horrors that took place. And then also, sadly, you know, we've just seen the last few weeks the residential schools in Canada, which is, you know, I know that Indigenous people have known about these, you know, mass genocides taking place under the guise of, I'm sure the people who were in that, they justified their, to me, their evil action. But I'm sure somewhere in some way it's been twisted that that is okay to treat people as human. So yeah, it's, I suppose, unless people understand, like it's that control, isn't it? They're very, very controlling, and also, you know, I don't actually know a lot about Christianity. I haven't read the Bible, but from, you know, people who I've spoke to, they have opened my eyes that actually some of the things that people put forward as the truth is not actually the truth. That it's been twisted to justify a particular way of doing things. So yeah, it's I have, like I said, I haven't read the Bible myself, so I can't take that own personal critical analysis. But if I, you know, if I was Christian, I would feel like, wow, these people are just completely twisting what, you know, Jesus, because I believe from my own, you know, research or whatever, Jesus had he was a good person, and that was what he was all about. It wasn't about controlling, harming, saying what you can wear, saying what you can do.
Mm-hmm.
Um, like, I don't know, but Jesus didn't write the Bible, did he? It's other people
No,
years later who actually
years
wrote
later.
it. So,
Yes.
you know, so they had their own
Mm-hmm.
views. And like in England, we like for some like in the UK, we learn about Henry VIII all the time in school,
Mm-hmm.
and he was a king who had created the Church of England because he wanted to get divorced and have like I don't know loads of wives, and he cut all their heads
Mm-hmm.
off. So it's like wow, like this one man who was extremely problematic, he literally murdered his wives. uh, that's the information you've got to read from. Why have we got to read from this person who switched it out? And like in school, you don't even. It's like, oh, we have to learn like I don't know, like educational for you, but we have to learn this little saying like this one got her head cut off. This like it was just like a little strange little rhyme,
Like a
but it
little
wasn't
nursery rhyme.
actually rhyme. But it's not like now. I think okay, somebody needs to talk about like you do not murder your wives. This is really terrible domestic violence,
Mm-hmm.
but it was just like, oh, so he decided this. He wanted to get married again, la la la.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, oh my god, like, wow, that's a
Yeah.
lot to completely bypass.
And it's funny because like what you I want to kind of expand on what you said, like Jesus, like I still very much like love and believe in the
Mm-hmm,
message of
mm-hmm,
Jesus. Like
mm-hmm,
I don't believe like he's the son of God and he's my savior and all that anymore, but like everything that Jesus preached, like
mm-hmm,
Jesus
mm-hmm.
wasn't a Christian. Like that's the thing people don't
Yeah,
understand.
yeah,
Like
exactly.
and in the
Mm-hmm,
Bible, there's this group of people called the Pharisees that represent
mm-hmm,
the church at that time. And they are so concerned with the outward appearance and policing people and controlling people. And like the biblical Pharisees are the equivalent of American Christianity right now. And I really just think
oh,
Christianity as a whole. And that's the thing, like, they were not messing with Jesus. They were not trying to hear what Jesus said. And
okay.
it's so funny because churches will tell you to not be a Pharisee and they will preach against being a Pharisee and
So what is a
everything.
Pharisee? What does that mean, Pharisee? That's a new word to me.
It's like it was a person in the church that they were in, like they worked in the church and they were, you know, they were the ones that kind of distributed the word and were kind of in control at that time, and that they
Right,
represented the church. That's a very loose kind of
right.
definition, but they
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
represented the church. They were the church people. And they
mm-hmm.
were very much policing people, controlling people, persecuting people, just
Right.
being assholes, you know what I mean? And essentially being what the
Mm,
church is today. And the
mm,
message of
mm, mm,
Christ went in stark contrast to the Pharisees, and they did
mm.
not want to hear what he said. So it's funny, if you read what Christ says, like it's very much he was with the poor people, with the
Mm,
prostitutes,
mm,
trying to help people. And it's like,
mhm.
I'm with all of that. Like, I mean, I'm a
Yeah.
social worker. I was joking like Jesus was a social worker. You know what I mean? And
Mhm. Right.
it's
Yeah.
just
Hmm.
frustrating because it's like the hypocrisy of everyone claiming to follow this man, this
Mm.
brown liberal man that
Palestinian, probably, you know,
exactly,
Palestinian,
you
where
know,
Palestine is the most oppressed people in the whole world. And I don't really see any people trying to save his people because they're probably the closest direct descendants of Jesus. But you know,
yeah, and
I don't know if that ever gets discussed, really, you
and
know.
it's crazy. It's just, I mean, and that to touch on him being Palestinian, like the amount of like
Mm,
white supremacy and racism that I experienced in this church, like
mm. So was your church mainly a white congregation and leader? Was it mixed or African American? What was it?
no, pastoral staff all white, predominantly
Right.
white church. And that's the thing. It's within this specific denomination, like there's still okay, so it's a very organized church. Like there's a general
Mm,
conference, there are, you know, local, it's very much divided. There's unions and
mm,
conferences, and kind of back east and in the South of the United States, there are still entire Black conferences from back when things were segregated, and no one's dismantled that shit. And it's like, okay. And even within, I went to a predominantly white church, but there was the Black churches in town that were of the same denomination. And it was so funny. I remember one time I went with my parents to a predominantly white church that we didn't normally attend. And this woman came up to us and she was like, I was at your church last week and the music was riveting and blah, 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 blah. And we went to a white church, but she just assumed that we had come from the Black church on the other side of town. And it's just little shit like that.
Yeah.
And even like the structural, the conference presidents, the union presidents, it's a lot of just white men in authority, like all the way up to the top.
Yeah.
They didn't allow women to be preachers or be in leadership. And I mean, there was just so many, I'm sorry, I'm like hopping all over the place. But.
That's fine. Wherever you feel you need to go, there is no, that it's your spirit speaking, and just trust that what you say, you need to share, and maybe somebody watching, they need to hear it as well.
Yes.
And so you said there was a lot of white supremacy within the church. Is there anything else that, so with that, did you, so you said that your grandma went to that church. Is that what it was? Is that why you went to that? So there was that kind of personal connection.
That's what it was.
Yeah. And so was there ever a kind of like a thought for you, like why not, like what made you go to that church and not to the Black church? Did you feel like you should be at the Black church, or you should, I don't know, or people made you feel like you shouldn't be there?
Actually started at the Black church. The first time I got baptized, I was at the Black church in town, and that resonated more. And it was so funny the way I looked at it, to where I'm like, oh, this resonates more with me because I'm just coming out from the world, and their music is a little bit more spicy, and like, I could, because like drums was a no-no in the church, like dancing is a no-no. These things are supposed to stir up the lower passions, and I don't know.
Really? Oh wow! Is that what it was? The lower passions.
Yeah, and now I'm realizing it's like moving your hips is moving stagnant energy, and that's helpful. You know what I mean? But no,
so basically,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Anything African origin was seen as
dark.
What was it saying? Dark, like just evil, bad, just
wrong. Of the devil. I don't want to say
anti-blackness.
They had a whole doctrine for that. So that's
wow, because that's white supremacy in itself.
Yeah.
The things that they say that are evil are, African-centered religions and practices. They centered on movement, music, rhythm, and yeah, and I suppose that just goes back from hundreds and hundreds of years of colonialism, doesn't it? Where the church said anything that you do that's remotely African is evil, and that's it. You're not good, basically.
Yeah, and so when I started going to the predominantly white church, it's interesting because the woman that mentored me and taught me is an older Black woman. But she very much taught me, and I'm now realizing she's like a self-hating Black person, because it was taught like, don't go in those spaces, don't behave this way, don't be around these environments, don't feed into.
So as in, don't be around the black church environment,
because they were I can't think of words that were used to describe it, but it. The music was a lot, and it was, I was discouraged from going, but not just to the Black church, any of the liberal churches that had drums or a female pastor, or jewelry was a no-no. Jewelry was you're not to wear jewelry. People don't wear their wedding rings.
So what was, just out of curiosity, what was the reason for not wearing jewelry? Is there a particular thing, like what?
Vanity. It's pride. You're calling attention to yourself, and you should be a clean, pure vessel that puts people's mind to the Lord with no distractions.
Right. Okay. So, okay. Interesting.
It's so
Mm.
funny to like say these things out loud now,
Yeah.
like not being in them and just realizing how crazy
Mm.
it sounds. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
But
but
at the
I
time,
think,
like it made
yeah,
sense. It made complete
yeah,
sense, and I was all in. Like,
yeah. And I think, even if somebody hasn't been within this type of religious type of cult, I think a lot of people can identify with being in toxic environments, whether it's like peer groups, whether it's within family, whether it's in
mhm,
workplaces, and we are indoctrinated
mhm,
to be around lots of toxicity and not question. You're seen as the one who is a troublemaker, So I think a lot of people, even if they have been in this experience, you can see the cultish dynamics in a lot of places. Do you know what I mean? Like workplaces I've been in,
mhm,
absolute power with the boss. Even if they're doing really disgraceful things, if you speak up, you're going to be in trouble.
yeah,
And it's that absolute control and all the layers, all the layers, really, isn't it? But I
mhm.
suppose that not drawing attention to your body, it kind of sounds like, again, like you're losing your identity and you're not having any expression at all.
None, none. And it was, I mean, it's funny now, but at the time it was so sad. I remember I went to, because I had a long period where I knew I was like deconstructing my faith, and I still was like trying to go to church and like trying to make it work
Mm,
and try to like be in these
mm,
spaces. And I remember going to like a women's Bible study group, and someone asked such a simple question, as far, it was like, what is your favorite or what is your interest? And like, I was like choking back tears. I didn't know who I was. I don't, because for
mm,
so long I had been
mm,
trained to respond in a way that was palatable, that gave glory to God, that was the appropriate answer, that I
mm,
froze when someone asked me something directly about myself. I don't know. I have buried who I truly am so deeply
mm,
away to
mm,
make sure
mm,
that I am this Christian that is palatable and
mm,
that is accepted. And especially being in leadership, I was visible and I was black
mm,
and I was in
mm,
predominantly
mm.
white spaces. So I had no really wiggle
Yeah.
room to do much of anything. You know, it's
Mm,
like, that is an incredible amount of pressure and trying
mm,
so
mm.
hard to hide yourself. I'm like,
Yeah,
I
and
was
to,
laughing with one of my
and this
friends, like,
perfect, this idea of perfect, which
yeah,
what is that based on? That perfection, it's based in what from what you're saying, very white supremacist, very anti-woman, you know.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah, you can never reach that perfect because you're not a white male, really.
Period.
That's the only
And
way to do it.
it's the stress, because like
Mm,
everyone's trying so hard to be this ideal of perfect that like you've never seen anyone that has
mm,
all their shit together, but everyone's telling you that it's out
mm,
there and that you can overcome like all known sin in your life. You will not be sinning at all when Jesus comes. Like,
mm, mm.
that is so
Mm.
anxiety inducing.
That really is so much pressure. Like, how can any, like you said, nobody can live up to this unrealistic expectation. Like, wow.
Even with like
Mm,
my body, because like
mm,
I'm naturally like a curvy, thick
mm,
woman,
mm,
and
mhm, mhm,
I was told that like that's a problem. Like, you need to cover that
mm,
up. You are going to be a stumbling block. Like, I didn't wear pants for years. I
mm,
wore
mm,
only skirts. Only skirts. I had an
mm,
exercise skirt, I had a swim skirt, and I was like essentially starving myself because there was a lot of
mm,
dietary restrictions, and it went above just being vegan. And they will
mm,
say, they are a health reformer and not a vegan, because there's vinegar, there's black pepper, there's eating between meals. Like, all of these things were presented to me as a sin. Meat eating was associated
wow.
with cancer. Meat eating was associated
Mm,
with sinning, you know what I mean? And I remember it was this thing in the church where it's like you find out someone eats meat and you're like, damn, I can't even listen to their sermons no more. You know, like I thought they were at a higher level of holiness. Like that pastor still eats meat. Oh my God, I can't trust his ministry. And those are like commonly held beliefs within this system, to where it's and I got so skinny. That it was like that's not my natural body shape, you know. And I tried so hard to be, and I, you know, and people were like, oh, you look so good, and it was easier to dress modest when I didn't have curves.
Right.
So
It sounds like the joy of life was being sucked out of you, really. It just sounds like a very like no joy, no happiness, no. And like you said, you lost your connection to yourself, which, you know, but I think, you know, that being said, like a lot of people will understand that, where you get to a point in your life and you think, whew, what's going on? Why have I been in that environment and completely suppressed? Well, not you've suppressed, but you've been suppressed, okay? Because you were suppressed and you were just trying to do your best and be accepted. So how about your transition to like leaving that church? How did that happen, and what made you kind of take a step back and think, actually, this is not working for me, this is not healthy?
You know, it's funny because there's a yearly young adult conference that all young adults go to in this church. It's called GYC. And I went to GYC it's always at the end of the year, because the thought is to end the year and start the year with new intentions with the Lord and kind of renew your commitment to your faith. And I sat in this seminar, and it's so funny because at this conference, at the first night, all the presenters come up on the stage and they kind of talk about what their breakout sessions are going to be. And relationships is a huge topic in the church, so those are always the ones that are packed, the relationship and the sex ones, because those are completely off limits and everyone wants to talk about it but can't. But I remember the man who
can I ask about that? Was there a lot of rules and regulations with relationships? And
oh my gosh, yes.
what sort of thing?
Courtship. It was, you were courting. Dating was discouraged. And this is in the, you know, more conservative culty side. Mainstream, you know, it's not as bad, but there were, so I didn't bring this up. There's a prophet in this church, and she has all her books, and those books are very much like kept equal with the Bible. A lot of people won't admit that, but the prophet is like way up there. And she writes a lot about everything, really, and that's what kind of designates a lot of the really strict standards is from her writings. But there's a lot of talk about just maintaining your purity, not being alone with the opposite sex, not dating, and really not spending time with people if it's not someone that you see yourself spending the rest of your life with. And so like the anxiety, it's like you can cut the sexual tension with a knife at like any young adult event. Like,
oh God, I can imagine.
So
oh my God. I bet everyone's like,
literally, you're looking at every dude like, is this my husband? Is this my husband? Is this my husband? Is this my husband? Because you can't just be friends. Because if you start to be friends with the guy, everyone's like, ooh, what's good? So it just was like, and for myself, I had a life before the church. Like, I was not a virgin. I smoke, I drank, you know what I mean? So that it was even harder for me to, you know, and it's, you know, at one point I truly was like, I'm going to wait until my wedding day to kiss my husband. And that's very common. And it's like, that's like upheld, like, ooh, they barely no hugs, you know, side hugs, leaving enough room for the Holy Spirit, you know, no holding hand, like all these, there were so many like rules and standards. And it's like, you were viewed, and that was like a bragging point. Like, well, we didn't kiss till the altar, or we didn't spend any time alone, or, And it's
Mm.
funny because
Mm.
everything, you know, you go to all these seminars of everything that's off limits and sinful, and masturbation is discouraged. So it's like you're supposed to be celibate. You
Mm.
can't handle your own business. Like, just everything is just.
Everybody must have been going wild at these
So
young
that's what I'm
adult
saying.
con.
You see these
Everybody
events.
must. Oh gosh, I can imagine it. Yeah, a lot of tension, a lot of wow. Yeah, so
And it's
much
so funny,
tension.
like a new guy, you know, or a new girl would
Mm.
come to the church. It's like every man for themselves. Like, I'm sorry, like we trying to get married out here. Like, like I
Wow,
seen him first.
wow.
I saw her first. It's terrible. It is so.
Yeah.
And it's just
It's
like you think of like everything I've been sharing. Just think of like the anxiety, like the constant
that's what I
state
keep
of
thinking.
being.
Like, there's
And
so
I'm
much
already a
pressure.
naturally anxious. Like I am a highly anxious person by nature. Crazy this whole time because I was
Mm.
on edge,
Mm.
just constantly
Yeah.
trying to. And you know, they'd say that you're supposed to be in this constant state of searching your heart for sin. So I'm constantly
Mm.
examining myself, examining
God.
my thoughts, examining my words, examining my heart,
Wow.
my is it, you know, and you meet someone, well, is it safe for me to be around this person? Are they going to derail
Mm.
my walk? Like,
Mm. Mm. And I suppose saying that, and as you know, what I mean, saying about every thought has to be them things that you're talking about. To me, that sounds like a very strong indoctrination, which, you know, we've said that that's it, but there is literally no opportunity to have a free thought. Like, where
mm-mm.
can you, you're not allowed to think, basically, if you have to think about what's this sin all the time, where can
Mm-hmm.
you where can you be an individual human being?
Yeah.
You can't.
Even like with the, like I was telling you, certain ingredients were deemed sinful. So it's like you go to eat at someone's house and then you look like the asshole. Did you put pepper in this? Is there vinegar in
Mm,
this? Is there oil in this? Yeah, that's actually,
yeah.
that goes against my
Is it
conviction.
because it's like stimulating the pepper? You're gonna get too wild and excited. Get too
Yeah,
spicy.
and it's yeah, it's they're
Literally.
based in health principles because the prophet has a book on health,
Right.
and a lot of it is with that. And that's the thing, like there is some truth to some of the things that she
Yeah.
said. And
Hmm.
I'm seeing, you know, with like traditional Chinese medicine, like not eating between
Hmm.
meals, not eating, you know
Yeah.
what I mean, do certain things. And so like I get like there is some truth to some of these things. And you know, the more
Yeah.
I'm understanding with spirituality, like maybe she was some type of medium. Maybe she was getting channeled messages, but as we know,
Yeah.
if the medium has not done the work, some of them is,
Mm,
you know what I
mm,
mean. So I think maybe that's what
yeah.
happened with the prophet, to where she maybe was getting some
Mm,
downloads and then just maybe
mm,
got them
mm,
blurred with
mm,
her own shit. Like, so I mean, there's, you know, I don't reject all of this
yeah.
stuff, and that's the beauty and what we're, you know, earlier as far as spirituality, there's still things that very
Mm,
deeply resonate with me and will always, but I take what I
mm,
need and I'm leaving the rest. And that's like super
mm,
liberating to even just be able to
mm,
do that now, you know?
mm. Definitely. I've just realised I took us off on a different journey
That's
because I wanted
okay.
to know
Go.
how you so you said you were at this youth conference and this is where you started to break away. This is when something the light bulb moment happened. Could you go back to that? I'll
Yeah.
try to let you finish that.
That's okay. That's okay. So yeah, it was he wasn't your typical presenter at GYC. He was an older guy, dumpy, like nothing really attractive about him. He was fumbling
Mm,
and
mm,
stumbling over his words. He wasn't really making sense, but like I was like zoned in on him as soon as he stepped on the stage. I was like, I have to
mm,
go to that man's seminar. And I'm like, what the hell? Like, why? Because normally I'd
mm,
be going into
mm,
something else. There were other ones that sounded super interesting to me, but I was
mm,
so drawn to this man's seminar. And I went and there was like nobody in there. And by
mm,
the end, I was just like sobbing because he was telling his experience of being in the church and just his heart not being in it. He was like, I know the
mm,
doctrines. I know the doctrines in and out. I'm in leadership. I'm a pastor. I'm this. He's like, but my heart, like, my heart is not changed. My heart is not converted. My heart, and he was saying like, I'm not really real in my faith. And I realized like, that's me. Like I've been going through the motions. Like I know the doctrines, I know this, I know all these things, but it's not hitting my heart.
Yeah.
And at that time, I took it as I have got to recommit myself to God and to this church, and I've got to be more on top of my spirituality. So I came home from that conference and I got rebaptized. And something still wasn't right. You know what I mean? But at that time I was so slammed and I was in my last semester of undergrad, which means I was in an unpaid internship. I was still taking classes and I was working part-time. I was still holding, I don't know, 4 or 5 different leadership positions at the church. So I had these feelings of like something's not right, but I just didn't have time to process. And so I was like, I'm reaching burnout. And this has happened to me a couple times in my life. I don't really know how to stop before it gets too bad. So then I just hit my breaking point and shit just explodes. And so I got burnt out. I got really burnt out that summer. And I just went to my pastor and I quit everything. I just quit everything. I'm like, I'm tired. And I realized I'm like, I need to quit everything and focus on myself. And then I stopped going to church. I quit all my positions and I stopped going to church. And this is where I got hurt because I was at that church every weekend for like 5 years, serving, midweek. And then I stopped showing up and nobody called me. Nobody reached out. Nobody, you know what I mean? I mean, my close friends, yes, but I'm like, damn, like, so that to me was like a slap in the face. Like, you know what? They'll find somebody else to do it. And then I had a position that I was volunteering, and then they brought someone on and started paying someone to do what I was doing for free. And it just, all this, I was like, I checked out. And
so it confirmed your decision in a way. The fact that there wasn't actually any genuine care for you as a person. It was you're either in or you're out. And if you're not in, we don't care about you, which is horrible. I imagine that was probably one of the most difficult things because you spent so much time with these people, you put all your energy, you thought they were, true relationships, and then actually it was revealed in a very painful way, actually,
Yep. And then and from there I was in a really terrible job. Like my first job out of college was just a complete shit show. Like it was terrible. So on top of all that, I ended up getting caught in like a business takeover and getting fired with like everyone else in the building. We had a new administrator. He brought his whole team over, fired us one by one, and I'm like, I just graduated. And so I took that opportunity to say, you know what, I think I want to relocate. I think I need to go move to another town and just start over and figure out who the hell I am, what I want to do. And that at that time, I still thought that I wanted to be involved in the church. I just thought it was my specific church that I was like mad at or didn't want to be around. And so I moved 3 hours south to the town that I'm in now. My grandmother and grandfather are here. My parents were born and raised in this town, and I spent my summers here with grandma going to the church out here. So I ended up getting a job out here, moving in with my grandma just until I got on my feet. And that was pretty stressful too. Because, living with any of your adult family members as an adult is just a whole ordeal.
And so she was the one who introduced you to the church as well? No, this was okay. So
that grandma has died. And you know what, to backtrack a little bit, when that grandma died, she and I were not on good terms at all. We were on terrible terms because I was living my absolute best life. I was doing what I wanted to do. And for her, I was apostatizing. Oh my God, And so when she died, and you know, that's what I left out. When I came back to this church, it was almost like a subconscious, like, I need to do this to reconcile with my deceased grandmother.
Right, right.
So I
Okay.
think that may have kept me in longer. You know what I mean? And even the
Like
lady
a
who
kind
turned
of
out to,
like a guilt sort of thing. Like you've got
yes,
to atone for whatever her will, her wishes. You need to fulfill
yes,
them. Mm-hmm.
yes. And so, you know, and it's funny, even the lady who ended up being my mentor in the church looks a lot like my biological grandmother, who I was trying to appease, had that same very
Mm-hmm.
like curt, like very direct way of doing things. And so it was almost
Mm-hmm.
my way of becoming very attached to this woman to try to reconcile my
Mm-hmm.
shit with my
Mm-hmm.
grandma, you know.
Yeah.
And so, and the grandma that I moved in with down here, she's Christian, but she's another denomination, and she's
Mm-hmm.
cool.
Mm-hmm.
It's all good.
Yeah. And she was
Um,
supportive of the like changes and the things that you were wanting to do and move forward.
I mean, yeah, it's funny. My grandma is not like a deep thinking person. Like we've
Mm-hmm.
not really had many deep conversations ever, and
Yeah.
she still thinks I'm in this church. Like we don't really like. She's like, oh, baby, you're
Mm-hmm.
doing some different things. You look happy. Like
Yeah.
that's the extent of
Yeah.
my grandma's
As
relationship
long
with
as
me.
you're happy, she's happy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is
So
actually
she's
great.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
Sometimes that's the
it's
best thing, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Mm.
yeah.
That's
So
good.
it's where was I
Let
at?
me just check the time because, oh wow, gosh, we've already been speaking for 55 minutes. Oh my God, I could just, the thing is with these conversations, because there's so much, they could just go on for like a whole day if we go into somebody's whole life story. But maybe just to kind of finish off, so you said a little bit about some of the things that helped you in your healing,
Yes.
which I think is important for people to hear because maybe somebody's in a situation that you were a few years ago, and an important thing is hope. When you're in that really
Mm-hmm.
bad place, you just
Yeah.
lose all hope, don't you? You think things are never going to change. It's always going to be bad. Nobody cares about me. Maybe they've had that rejection, but maybe you
Mm-hmm.
could just touch on like briefly that kind of hope giving that worked for you, the practices and tools.
So it was three things, and I mentioned them to you. It's therapy,
Mm-hmm.
astrology, and herbalism that have
Mm-hmm.
really been helpful to me. Therapy has been the biggest help for
Mm-hmm.
me, hands down,
Mm-hmm.
because I think, you know, I've been kind of chatting with a lot of different people that have religious trauma,
Mm-hmm.
and
So,
knowing,
sorry, I can see a few people in the comments saying, I hope you're going to save the live, and I am going to save the live. Don't worry, I'm going to post it up straight after. Carry on.
but with religious trauma, something that I think is really important before someone joins a church, and I was talking to a friend about this the other day, I feel like there
Mm-hmm.
should be some type of therapy clearance or like a mental health clearance, because I think
Mm-hmm.
of like when
Yeah.
you have a disease, like you typically don't die from the disease, it's the pre-existing conditions. And so I think
Mm-hmm.
about coming into a religious space, it's and the church is toxic, religion is toxic, there's some really toxic shit that goes on, but it's
Mm-hmm.
what we bring to the church that really
Mm-hmm.
determines our experience. And it's
Mm-hmm.
you know, that's what I realized, that I needed to be validated, I needed to be affirmed,
Mm-hmm.
I needed to be listened to. There were needs that were not met for me in my childhood emotionally, that this inner
Mm-hmm.
child, you know, it's like little
Yeah.
Tasia that I'm carrying around is crying and trying to get these things. So
Mm-hmm.
I think therapy helped me to go
Mm-hmm.
inward and start to unpack my shit. And that's really where the
Mm-hmm.
turning point was. I was, you know, taking the long route to get to that. But once I realized that there's nothing wrong with me, there's
Mm-hmm.
nothing wrong with
Mm-hmm.
the desires that I have, with the
Mm-hmm.
things that
Mm-hmm.
bring me joy, that the things that I enjoy doing, and that God gave me those desires and those
Mm-hmm.
things, and I
Mm-hmm.
do not have to overcome my God given who I am.
Yeah.
That to
Yeah.
me was the biggest liberator, healing. And not to say it's not
Mm-hmm.
hard, and I'm not deeply traumatized from a lot of the doctrines I
Mm-hmm.
was that, but knowing that at my core I'm good.
Yeah.
I have
Mm-hmm.
the ability to make my own decisions. I can trust my voice, I can trust my intuition. I have spirits guiding
Mm-hmm.
me, you know what I mean? And
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So knowing that therapy and then astrology, I have always been so into astrology prior to the church and was told that that was demonic and wrong. And I'm like, I see why, because it gives you such a clear map of who you are and what your mission is and what your, you know, learning my sun, moon, and rising sign and looking at my birth chart and seeing that's why I may be stubborn. That's why I have these certain convictions. That's why I'm very passionate in these areas. And those things were demonized. But that is who I am. And that is my gift. That is my medicine to the world, who I am. And to stifle that is stunting the work that I'm here to do, you know? And then that actually going through astrology led me into herbalism. Because I got some readings and did some healing sessions and some energy clearings. And in some of the readings, it was told to me, my plant allies and the plants that are speaking to me to work with me. And I started to work with plants and I started to really work with herbs. And then I took a beginner herbalism class through Hood Herbalism, which is amazing. If you guys are not following, follow Hood Herbalism. It's
I think I started. I think I did. Maybe you told me, or I come across it. Yeah.
It's black and brown only spaces, and it's looking at learning herbalism from the lens of what we were doing indigenously as a people. Not, you know, and it's black and brown taught, black and brown only, and we're, you know, learning to listen to your plant allies, listen to the medicine, listen to the earth, reconnect to the earth. And so, yeah, I mean, those things together have all connected. And that's what I'm learning with every aspect of my healing. I've been guided to it. I was guided to certain things that will guide me to the next step, that will guide me to the next step. And it's like, that to me is confirmation. I'm healing, I'm listening.
Trusting yourself. And if you have the desire to go in that route, allow yourself to explore and be curious. If somebody's asked about what was the site, did you say it's Hood Herbalism?
My mom, she answered her.
Oh, thank you. Oh,
yeah. Herbalism, and the astrologer, medicine woman that I worked with, Ray, is Black Soul Theory, BLKSOL Theory. Follow her. Follow her.
And I'll put in when I post a lot the replay, if there's any sort of resources you've mentioned, I'll put it in the description for people.
Okay.
Have a look back, because there's so much information that you've brought to this conversation. So I'm sure people want to go back and re-listen to certain pieces that are, you know, because I was getting a lot of comments, and I'm so sorry that we were so deep in the conversation, but you know, I've seen your comments, and you know, thank you so much for kind of being engaged with us. I can see that some people have had similar experiences to you, and they are, you know, recovering from religious trauma. So I'm sure that, you know, a lot, sorry, there was a little, so thank you all for commenting. I haven't worked out how to do the questions and chat because we're so deep in the conversation. But if once I post the replay, if you have questions, you can post it on the replay. And then when we have time, we can then come back and kind of start that discussion again. So I think we're going to wrap it up here because we've been chatting for a long time and I've so enjoyed it. But I need to go and get some food as well. There's like an event on round corner with some Caribbean food. And I need to make sure I get there.
Story. I was like, ooh.
Yeah, it's like the first social thing I've been to pre-corona. So yeah, it was like, there's loads of people to speak to. It was like, wow, it was amazing. But if people want to follow you on Instagram or DM you, is that okay? Can people do that?
Yeah, I'm actually going to be starting a blog to really kind of further unpack the specifics of certain things that, because I've been getting a lot more insight looking back on things and want, you know, and it's been healing to really type it out and process it. So I'm like, I think I'm gonna start sharing that with people, with the world.
Amazing. You need to. I think it's really yeah, we need to hear from other people, their experiences. So I've got 25 seconds and it's going to stop. So thank you so much for
Thank you.
brilliant to connect with you. Thank you everybody for watching, and I have 13 seconds, so I'm going to go now. Bye everyone. Bye.